Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, as the title suggests, you are going to be finding out my latest challenge that I've signed up for. If you've been following me on Instagram, you will know that fairly recently, over the last year or so, I've been signing up for essentially what is random events to train for in short periods of time, sort of 8 to 12 weeks worth of training, and yeah, giving it a go. I don't know what it is, I just seem to be in that stage of my life where I keep signing up for things. So before I announce what I'm training for now, we're going to do a quick rundown of the events that I've done fairly recently. So first one up is a sprint triathlon. That was the first one I did was last September. The reason being for that was it was something that I'd always sort of fancied doing, but not like the longer distance stuff. I've got mates that have done like Ironman and things like that, and I don't really think those sort of distances are for me. Back in the day, I used to row, and my thing was sprint racing. Didn't really enjoy the longer distance stuff in the winter. So when I found out there were sprint triathlons, I thought that was more my sort of thing to do. So I basically signed up for one, gave myself 8 weeks to train. And then I actually went back and did that one this year as well. And I tried to beat my time, which I did successfully. Again, gave myself about 8 weeks training. Probably didn't even train as much as I did the previous year, but we still improved on our time. I think it was by about 3 minutes, which I was fairly happy with, to be fair. Shortly after that, I did a half marathon. Again, something I'd never really thought about doing. Wasn't that big into running, to be quite honest. But a couple of lads from the footy team dropped me a message and asked if I wanted to jump on it because they were doing it. Again, probably didn't train anywhere near enough for it. Distances were nowhere near long enough. I think the furthest I'd ran during my training was 8.6k, which is nowhere near like the 21.1 that a half marathon is. That being said, I set myself a target for under 2 hours and I came in at 1:58, if I remember rightly. That was last November. Again, not really the best lead up to that one. I went to a family funeral on the Friday, was drinking from roughly 2 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning, had the Saturday to recover, and then it was first thing Sunday morning. So that being paired with a lack of actual distance training, I was pretty happy that I broke the 2 hour mark, especially I was quite heavy back then. I was roughly 230 pounds, I think, maybe a bit heavier from all the alcohol and everything as well. So well over 100 kilos, pretty happy running a sub 2 hour when I'd never even ran close to even half the distance really. Then I had a little bit of a break. I signed up for a couple more. I had a mate that was trying to get me tempted in a half Ironman, but work commitments, exams and things like that. It would have been too much training for the amount of other stuff outside of work that I had going on. Never say never, but for the short term, probably won't be doing any half Ironman anytime soon. But then like I said, I re-signed up for the sprint triathlon that I did last year. I also signed up for another one, which I did first this year, which went pretty well. I think I'm gonna sign up for that one. They do it twice a year, so I'm gonna do that in spring this time. Hopefully the weather's a bit better. When I did that one, the weather was minging. It chucked it down. There was loads of wind on the bike. Not ideal conditions for a triathlon, let's put it that way. Swim was very good though. I did a lot better on the swim than I did in the previous one. So again, got another time to go and beat. I've done also Tough Mudder twice in those times. It's always been the week before that first triathlon, which is not ideal. Obviously going into like a deload week that week anyway before the triathlon, but definitely feel it still in your legs. 15k running through mud, not ideal. So that brings me on to the event that I've actually signed up for. Now, I actually did look at this one about a year ago, but for whatever reason, it did not go ahead, which was unfortunate because it would have been something I would have entered last year. Once I'd done the 2 triathlons this year, I was then looking for my next event. And I just kept coming across more running events, more sort of triathlon events, and it was something that, yeah, I will do again, but not something I wanted to do short term. I was looking for another event before the end of 2023. So that brings me to the event that I've entered. I have entered the British Indoor Rowing Championships. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you may know that I used to row back in high school and college, and I had GB trials twice. I actually got a notification on Facebook today, basically announcing the first time that I was having GB trials 11 years ago, 2nd of November 2012. Now I am feeling a little bit old, but we're still feeling good, we're fresh, we've got loads of energy in the tank still. Basically, the reason why I do these is just to mix up my training and have something to aim for. Like, I play football on the weekend, but it's not that I was getting bored with my training. I just like to aim my training towards something. So I've got like a short-term target to just blast and then move on to the next one. Keeps me sort of fresh, keeps training sort of a bit mixed up every now and again, and gives me something to properly go for. I haven't rowed, well, in a boat now for 2014 would have been the last time, so nine and a half years. I've done small bits of rowing since. If you were following me back in lockdown, you may remember that I did a bit of charity money raising. Basically, my granddad also used to row, started a rowing club up. So what I did was I rowed 7k every day for charity, and that was basically the distance from my house to where my granddad's rowing club was. That really is the last time that I was on a rowing machine in a sort of large capacity. There's maybe the odd session that I may have jumped on in between, but not a lot at all. So the event offers a 500 metre and a 2000 metre event. For now, I've entered the 500 metre event. I've still got a couple of weeks before deciding whether I want to enter for the 2000. The reason why I've only gone the 500 metres so far is my events when I was rowing were sprint racing, and that is where I've won most of my races when I was rowing. Anything sprint racing and rowing is usually sort of 200 metres to about 2000 metres. That is the sort of range you're looking at. 2000 metres is the sort of gold standard for rowers, and then potentially a 5k time as well. So you'd basically, if you met someone, you'd gauge how good of a rower they were from their 2k time. And then if you were like a longer distance rower, you may ask their 5k time as well. The reason why I've not entered the 2k event so far is just because of, I had a look at the previous results back from 2021 when the event was ran last time, and I'd probably come around middle of the bag, which is okay, but for me to sort of challenge to win it, probably looking at like a 15 to 20 second PB on the time when I was rowing and having GB trials. Now, I'm probably more powerful now, got more muscle mass. I'm about 2 to 2.5 stone heavier than my previous rowing weight. So that being said, you've got to also have the gas tank to go with it. Now, I am pretty fit, probably say fitter than most people, but when it comes to like absolute aerobic capacity for rowing and kind of anaerobic really with those sort of distances, not even close to how fit I used to be, which is crazy considering my sort of fitness levels now. That being said though, I have got a couple of weeks to decide whether I want to enter the 2k race as well. I did look at the previous timetable. It did look as if the 2k was done in the morning and the 500 metres was done in the evening. If it was the other way around, I'd probably be more tempted, but the 500 metre event is the one that I'm going for. I did like a rough benchmark on my 500 metres when I was feeling like sort of 50-60%, like I was knackered, not feeling 100% at all, and I actually got 7 seconds off the winning time from 2021. Now 7 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking 500 metres, it is still quite a bit, but it's not to say that I can't improve. I have been training for a couple of weeks, not quite done as many sessions that I wanted to, just because of moving out into the house, and also I've got an exam coming up in literally like 2 weeks. So I've had a lot of things to juggle. But we are making progress. I've been tracking all my times and everything. I will be doing a video on how I've been training for this event, and I'll break everything down so you can see exactly what I've been doing, how I've been progressing. So yeah, 500 meters is the one that I'm going for. May end up going for the 2000 as well. I will just check the timetables. If the 2K is after the 500 meters, then yeah, probably will go for it just to make more of a day out of it. Otherwise, I'm going to be traveling all the way to Birmingham for essentially a minute and a half on the rowing machine, which is a long way to go. But you know, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna try and go for the win. I mean, it all depends on who turns up on the day. But for someone who has essentially done a handful of rowing in the last 10 years since I stopped, we'll see how we get on. Reasons why I had to stop rowing was obviously I started work after college. I had things like exams. I had to travel to work. It was not the closest. By the time I would have got back, training would have already started. Most of the people that I used to row with also moved on, so we didn't have like a boat to race. Like I used to race in a double and a quad. Basically that whole double and quad team just split up after college and went separate ways for work purposes. Those things sort of happen. It is something that I've toyed with going back to on a smaller capacity in the future, just again to mix my training up. Definitely won't be able to do the amount of training that I used to. I used to train 9 times a week back when I was doing GB trials. That would be a double session on a Saturday and Sunday, and it essentially took your life up. I missed a lot of sort of 16th and 18th parties back in high school and college, because I would literally finish college, get the bus home, quickly get to training for 5 o'clock, and then I'd get in about 8, half 8, eat, go to bed. And then on a weekend, it'd be on the water for 8 in the morning. I'd probably get back about 1:30. And then quite often, just due to pure exhaustion, I would have a shower and then fall asleep on my bed in my towel and then get woken up for dinner about 5ish. So yeah, I've got a lot more on my plate now than I did in college. So definitely wouldn't be able to keep up with that amount of training. But like I said, we may go back on a smaller capacity in the future. It is something that I've sort of fluttered the idea of, because I did enjoy it, and as well, I think it's one of easily the best all-round fitness sports that you can do. I remember reading a study, it's something like 86% of your muscles get used when you row, if you do it correctly. It is a exercise that is massively butchered in the gym, and I will be doing a video on how to row properly. Now, my form isn't perfect, but it is miles better than some of the stuff I've seen in the gym, and I can sort of break down the basics on how to row properly to avoid injury, because I imagine a lot of people are coming out of the gym with sore backs. But yeah, there we have it. I've entered the British Indoor Rowing Championships. I've got just over 5 weeks left to train. We'll see how it goes. Stay along for the journey on Instagram and my YouTube. As I keep saying, there's going to be a lot more videos coming now that I've moved out. I have so much more space and quiet spaces to film. Coming from a house of 6 people and a dog, pretty hard to film and not just get people in the way of videos or trying to take the mic and making noise in the background. I can now make a lot more content without having to worry about any of that. So with all that being said, if you have enjoyed this one, please drop it a like, and if you are new, please subscribe. We are trying to grow this channel now, put some proper consistent work in, and I will see you in the next one.